Welcome to Word Wednesday. Geoffrey Nance here with you in cold Texas. Some of you guys from the north are like, you Southerners are freaking out. But man, I don't know. I mean, we're like near historic lows. Like it's been lower than this like three times, I think, in history. And I was supposed to be alive during one of those times. I don't remember that. I don't remember that at all. We're like in single digits. People live like in Minnesota or something. I'm like, why would you want to do that? And here we are in Texas. We're dealing with that now. And I'm still thinking, why would you want to do that? so so snow is great. And what's pretty cool about this is a lot of times we get ice if we do get anything white, but it's not snow. We're getting actual snow right now. It's like packed in. I feel like I'm on a ski trip in Colorado or Vermont or something like that. So it's pretty cool outside seeing that. But I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about something that ties into this idea of having too much of something. Can you have too much of something that's a good thing? And I suspect that if you think, all right, let's go back to a meal that you've had in particular, and you're just like, man, this was so good, and you just kept eating and eating and eating, and you're kind of like, oh, I'm pretty full. I should stop. But it's so good. I don't even want to take it home and reheat it because it won't be as good. I just want to consume it all right now. And you did it, and then afterwards you're like, oh, and it's almost like it's now it's like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done it. Maybe it's not as good. It's and so we kind of have this idea like snow, right? So I told you guys it's been snowing here. Our streets are white. It's pretty cool setting here. Can you have too much of it? I mean, in theory, I guess you could, right? You could get to a point where you can't get anywhere. Now our roads are actually pretty good, so we could drive around and get places that we want to be, which is great. As in people are driving slow, which is good too. Can you have too much of other things? Can you have too much love? I don't think so, right? I mean, I think we would say no to that. Can you give a plant too much water? All right. So my wife and I, when we were young, we were recently just newlyweds, and somebody got us a cactus, and we managed to kill a cactus. And I was thinking, how crazy is that? I mean, it literally would have been better off on its own if it had never met us. Like we 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 killed a cactus. How are we gonna keep anything else alive? And I don't know what we did right or wrong with it, but something, right? Like it really would have been better off if we'd have just dropped it outside somewhere. It probably would have had a better chance of surviving. But if I were to go and say, all right, so I got a plant. It needs water, and I fill it up, and then all of a sudden, like the leftover water is just is draining out. So now that the pot maybe can't even consume it, or the plant can't really use it, it can actually have too much. So we can have too much food. A plant can have too much water. We get these things, and so then I think it carries over quite naturally to us just kind of wondering, can I get too much of a good thing? Um, and in particular, can I get too much of Jesus? Can I get too much of the Spirit? Could I consume so much somehow that I would be full? Is it possible to get full of Jesus? And if so, what would that look like? And would it make me sick, or would I just be like, oh no, there's just an abundance? Okay, so let's talk about this. Um, I am come that they might have life and have it more abundantly. All right. So Jesus carries with him this idea that he is going to make us full and then more full. Now, when we think about that, we think of it from an eating food perspective, when we're going, oh man, this is not good because if I eat too much, I know I'll enjoy it now, but then I'll be sick later. I don't know if I want to do that. So when it comes to hearing the word, soaking in the word, is it possible that we can have too much of it? And the answer is no. It's very quite simply no, right? And I'm going to read a passage to you here in John 2. It says, the one who comes from above is above all. The one who is from the earth belongs to the earth and speaks as one from the earth. The one who comes from heaven is above all. He testifies to what he has seen and heard, but no one accepts his testimony. Whoever has accepted it has certified that God is faithful. For the one whom God has sent speaks the word of God, for God gives the Spirit without limit. Without limit? Limitless? That God gives us the Spirit without limit. So let's go back to this. All right. So this idea that we can get full and we can get so full that it actually doesn't do us any good. Let's go back to my plant illustration. So if I fill this pot up with too much water, it may be too much for that plant, but when does it become a good thing? When it spills over to another plant. When what has been given to this one becomes so great that they have more than enough, that it spills over into somebody else. Guys, I think that is what we're supposed to be receiving from this message, that when Jesus is pouring himself into us, that if he pours so much into us, not only will we get full, not only will we feel like we have an abundance, but if he pours so much into us that it will actually overflow to other people. So now we who have an abundance are able to be a blessing to other people, right? And I think that's a key here. It's not so much whether or not we have a good amount of food. We can eat too much of that. But see, notice what's happening here. If I eat too much for myself, then I get sick. But what if I took of what I had, I enjoyed that, I realized it was a blessing from God, but then I realized, you know what? I need to spill over into other people. I need to be willing to give a little bit of this back to other people. When the church in Acts saw that there were people in need, they gave out of their abundance. So they went and sold land that was theirs, that they owned. So obviously, we're talking a capitalistic society here because they own the land. They went and sold that land, that abundance that they had, so that they could be a blessing to other people. Guys, I want to encourage you today to realize that God, when he blesses us, does so in such a way that not only does he want us to be blessed, but he wants us to be a blessing to others. So when God has blessed us in abundance and we feel like it is overflowing, the benefit to that overflowing element is that it becomes a blessing to someone else. One of the great things that I don't know if you guys are paying attention to this and what's happening is that so many people are stepping up because there are people in need, right? In Texas and other places because the electricity's out. And I see so many Christians saying, hey, I've got extra firewood. Hey, I've got a big SUV. I can take you places. Hey, I can bring you this. Hey, you can come stay at my house. Guys, out of the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks. These are things that are coming out of people because that's what God has put in their heart. So now this abundance that they have is becoming a blessing to other people. I want to strongly encourage you guys to realize that when God blesses you, it's so that you might take what he has given you, right? Obviously, be thankful for it, use it for yourself, for your family, but then really look for opportunities to say, how can I be a blessing to other people? So I know several of you on here might be traders, right? And so you're trying to trade, you're trying to, pay for a bill or two or five or 10 or whatever. And then you want to go past that. You say, all right, so now I want to make X amount of dollars. So maybe I can say I'm become a full-time trader. I could do this for a living, spend more time at home, maybe not out on the road, not so much time traveling. Maybe I could, commit more to helping others. But at some point, right? So we're bringing in this abundance. We need to say, how can I use this to be a blessing to others? So I want to talk to you guys a little bit about some opportunities that you might have, some things I want you to think about if in your trading, you're able to start to see that abundance coming in your personal trading. All right. So let's just say you make X amount of dollars, right? Whatever that is. All right. And you meet your goal. You meet or exceed your goal. Okay. So great. So you see, some people look at goals and they say, oh man, it's almost like a job. Like, oh, I got to work to do this or whatever. And then it becomes more of a labor, right? It's a chore. But meeting goals ought to be exciting. It ought to be challenging. So when we meet goals, we're also supposed to celebrate. So when the person wins, all right, Tampa Bay just won the Super Bowl. They celebrate, guys. We throw parades for people that win, right? So goals are meant to be celebrated. If you reach your personal trading goals or any goal in life, whether it's a weight loss goal or something like that, my wife and I, did this thing. I don't know, I guess last year or something like that. And she decided to try to go on a diet. I almost never do those things. I'm like, no, I'm out. It's too restrictive. So I decided finally I'll do one with her. And then we lost a lot of weight, and so I've just maintained that. Well, she's trying to need that motivation. But see, sometimes we need that motivation. But when we had goals, right? And so when we met those goals, we celebrated those goals. And so whether it's a weight loss goal, whether it's a financial goal, whether it's a spiritual goal, whether it's a work goal, whatever it is, goals are meant to be celebrated. Okay. So when you meet your goal, celebrate your goal, enjoy meeting your goal. But then ask yourself, what am I going to do with this? Okay. So with this blessing that I've received, how can I be a blessing to other people? So let's just say you make a certain amount of money. We'll just start out with just say, I don't know, maybe $1,000, $2,000, whatever it is, right? And you can add that up. I know for some of you guys, it's going to be in the tens, 20s, whatever, 30s, whatever. Okay, so you meet your goal, and you say, all right, so I'm going to take X amount of dollars out of my account, and then I am going to go be a blessing to other people. So what does that look like? Very practically, right? So I'm going to be able to give X amount of dollars every time I meet my goal to my church. So that'll be an added offering. All right. So we have our tithes and then we have our offerings, right? So we give the tithes first, and then whatever we give on top of that, that's our offering. So maybe we can say, man, I can get an offering this month because I met my goal. Maybe it's just something simple as going and saying, hey, you know what? Here's somebody in line, and just take an item like some milk and just see if somebody will let you cut in line. Just look for somebody that has quite a few groceries or an amount that seems right for you that you're going to spend, and just say, you know what? Can I go in front of you? And if they say yes, just walk in front of them, right? Go get your milk and then just be like, oh, and by the way, put their put their groceries on my tab as well. Right? Or you just go around, you know, fast food, just say, hey, pay for mine and the next person behind me or the next two people behind me. Find ways that you can be a blessing to other people. So now you're not looking at money as some chore or some just like, just thing that you're doing. You're doing it with a purpose. You're doing it with this desire that I want to be a blessing to other people. But out of the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks, right? So the things that you say, the things that you do come from what's in your heart. So I don't want you to think, oh, I'm only going to become a giving person once I have X amount of money. No, the parable of the lady who just gave a few coins is very substantial for us, right? She gave out of the little that she had, and Jesus pointed that out. So I've had people say before, well, if I made this amount of money, I would give. No, you wouldn't, right? Okay, but you give a little, right? You give a little tip, but you wouldn't give a tithe, right? You would, because you have to already have that in your heart. So if you're not giving out of the little that you have, you're not going to give out of the lot that you have. You might give some, right? But you'll give the leftover crumbs. And I want us to be a people that give out of a generous heart, okay? Because the Lord loves a cheerful and generous giver. And I want us to be that kind of people. That's what sets us apart when believers do things that stand out to other people and they go, why would you do something like that? I don't see people do things like they're gonna go home talking about those things. And it's a great opportunity for you to then say, if they ask you, why did you do that? Don't just say, oh, you're welcome, no biggie. No, no. Stop and say, I give to you because of what Jesus has done for me. Just drop that seed there. Don't waste that opportunity. Don't just say, oh, I'm just being generous or God's blessing me or whatever. No, no, no. I'm being generous because of what Jesus has done for me. Out of the overflow of what he has given me, now I'm giving you. Plant that seed in their lives, guys. Okay. So when you have too much, okay, the reason that becomes a blessing is when we let it spill over into other people's lives. So that's the word I have for you guys today here on Word Wednesday. to realize that when Jesus gives to us, he gives to us in abundance, and that's his word, that's his spirit. But sometimes it's also in physical blessings as well. But those of us who have been blessed in physical ways ought to be a blessing to others. And even if you feel like you have just a little, you can give. You can start to create that attitude of gratitude and a willing, giving heart. And I want to encourage you guys to do that. All right. If you'd like to hear a little bit more about how business and the Bible and all these things kind of go together, we want to invite you to a podcast that David Mitchell presents. You can find this at go.tradeway.com/podcast. I know that's quite a bit to take in there, but I'm going to post that up for you guys. And that's an opportunity for you to continue to engage with us on a regular basis and hear more about these things that are being offered. We finished up season 1, but now we have season 2 called The Word on Investing coming out. It's hosted by David Mitchell. And if you guys would like to learn a little bit more about this, see what the Bible has to say about a host of topics, this is just another great way for you to dive into that. And if you want to tell other people about it, fantastic. Thanks for being on with us today. Hope that this has been a blessing to you and that you'll join us again next week.